to have extraordinary people who are willing to go the extra mile. And the problem, Krishna, is that it's the 80-20 problem, if you will. What do I mean by that? Like in every institution, organization, every country, you have 20% of the people pulling 80% of the weight, right? So that is the same situation that we as India also face. When people, youngsters in IT industry are upset about Mr. Murthy's comment, they are only thinking about themselves. But I think the point Mr. Murthy is making is larger point about youth in general, right? So we need more youth to, of course, get educated, to become productive members of the economy and work hard to raise the standards of living of not just their own family, but also the GDP of the country. So I think that's the larger point Mr. Murthy is making, and it's unfair to troll him in this fashion without really understanding the meaning of that's behind his message.
Okay, here's my 2 cents on it, Shri, and I'll give it back to you because I want your thoughts more on this as well. One is that I thought the conversation began about productivity, improving productivity, and I thought productivity, the argument at least on dinner tables across Indians, affluent Indians in India, is that productivity cannot be measured in terms of number of hours clocked in the office.
Absolutely.
Somebody can do a job which somebody else can do in 5 hours, can be done in 2 hours. So
Correct.
that person is done in 2 hours,
Yes.
should not be put through the trial of
Yes.
having to put through 5 hours. These are the kind of debates that are happening on dinner
Right.
tables. You know that. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's a good debate. So it is largely true that you cannot, in general, measure productivity by the amount of time anyone spent, clocking hours. But that's only the general rule. There are exceptions, right? You talked about people who could potentially be very productive by just spending 3 hours a day. But then those are the outliers. We're not talking about outliers. We're talking about people in general, the norm, the average, the mass which companies deal with, companies like Infosys and even many other companies deal with. So I think in general, those people will benefit if they work harder. They look at more productivity tools and figure out how they can become more productive. Not necessarily like kill themselves 12 hours, 14 hours. That's not really what he's, I think, driving at. He's saying that we need to work hard as a nation. We need to work smart. We need to be more productive. So I think that's the core message that's coming out from Mr. Murthy. And ultimately, Krishna, the work is a choice that all of us make.
Yep.
Even if, let's say, if a manager were to put a gun to your head and say, okay, go sit at your table and work 14 hours. But if you're just going to go back and doodle and twiddle your thumbs, nothing's going to get done, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So absolutely, I completely agree with you. That's where I'm trying hard to be the devil's advocate here, Shri, because I'm largely in agreement of being the productivity argument. I completely agree. But what I will tell you is this. This, I think, largely looks like an argument between boomers versus zoomers. The boomers always believe that whatever we do, we were doing nation building. The zoomers don't have that kind of affinity towards this term nation building because they believe that every business that was built, everything that was built was done at a very selfish level to start with. They wanted to have a good company because they wanted to make a name, and that company eventually contributed to the country. So how can you ask me? And also the term, the nature of the term ambition is, the definition of ambition is changing. Today, definition of ambition is not letting go of all your personal time and life and just achieving that one trophy at the end eventually. Because Zoomers are saying that achievement is not just winning that trophy or award on a stage. So in the changing world of definition of ambition, how do you view this?
That's only natural, Krishna, because if you look at the challenges that the boomers faced was very different, right? I mean, my parents and maybe, I'm much older than you, but maybe your parents are closer to my generation. And, the challenges they face were very different compared to what you, maybe as a Zoomer, you face. So I think it's not fair to say that Zoomers are not nation builders or they're not focused on nation building. I think that will be unfair to this generation because in many ways they are the innovators. They are the ones who are launching all the new cool stuff, the startups, the
unicorns.
Absolutely. So I think the amount of disruption which Zoomers are doing is probably much more than what Boomers did, right? Because they have the opportunity, they have the capital, they have a world now looking at India as a talent powerhouse, and there are VCs queuing up, making a beeline to this country to fund all these young talent and entrepreneurs. And we will see the birth of many such companies will become multinationals. So Zoomers will definitely end up building the nation by default by what they're doing. But I think the approach and the work culture that they bring is slightly different from maybe the Boomers, work ethic, where, a Zoomer is very happy putting his feet up on a beach, drinking a pina colada and, saying that I'm still productive because he is. Because he's actually working on some really high-end algorithm or some such stuff which is creating tremendous value compared to his father logging 10 hours in a government office. Right?
I think, Sri, I think you've just arrived at the core of it all, because that's what it is. It might not seem like, even as the Zoomers are complaining about Mr. Narayana Murthy's comment, they are building the nation one way or the other. So, they don't like calling it the way it is, like the way the other generation did, but they're doing it in ways much ado about nothing after a point, because the 70-hour work week was a term, but the larger point here is about making sure that you put in productive work, keep yourself productive for yourself and for the society around you.
Absolutely. It was a short handle. It's a message which Mr. Murthy was giving to the youth at large. Of course, the IT industry, because that's the industry he has built. He comes from that industry.
Yeah.
But I think his message is to the youth of India at large, saying that unless you put in extraordinary efforts, you're not going to achieve extraordinary results.
Right. And that's the message that we need to end the show with, because we've completely run out of time here. It's a lovely discussion we could have continued having, and we will continue to keep having Shri on such discussions right here in Business Plus. So for all those watching, keep watching Business Plus. It's a wrap here from our side this time around. This is Krishna Kumar signing off. Keep it with News9 Live.
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it.
It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemies. This and more. Streaming on the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now. BrahMos. Stealthy. Lethal. Precise. It flies at 3 times